A group of Republican senators, led by Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, and Mitch McConnell, is now threatening the ICC if they issue arrest warrants on Benjamin Netanyahu and a genocidal government. Bro, this letter is completely unhinged. It shows how the United States is ran by a bunch of criminals and thugs. In this letter, the Republican senators said that issuing an arrest warrant against Netanyahu will be in a direct violation of Israel's sovereignty, and any attack on Israel's sovereignty is an attack on the United States' sovereignty. This is the United States declaring war on the concept of international law. Not only did the United States threaten to go to war with the ICC as an institution, they also threatened the families of ICC officials. Can you imagine the reaction of the West if we had Hamas sending threatening letters to the ICC? If we had China or Russia threatening the ICC the way these criminal Republicans are? Do people understand that these Republican senators, by threatening and intimidating the judges at the ICC, that they themselves are breaking international law? This is why the ICC released a statement after being so blatantly threatened by Republicans that essentially say, hey bro, what the fuck? In their statement, the ICC claims they will not fall victim to threats and will not be intimidated. But let's be honest, man, we probably shouldn't believe them. Over the last 2 decades since its founding, the ICC has essentially served as puppets to the West, used to punish countries in the global South or who the West wants to run propaganda campaigns against. This is why these cases and these stories are so important. The ICC, ICJ, UN, international institutions, and international law is on trial just as much as Israel is right now.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back once again. Nick and Knight is back after a mini hiatus. Last show being on Thursday, but you guys know that I was in the lab cooking. I'm always in the lab cooking. We got a lot of stuff to cover, not enough time. Let's get into it. We have, and this is going to be the main story, Israel and the criminals of the West essentially normalizing terrorist ideology. And this is what I explained in my speech in KU. We have refugee camps, my friends. Big shout out to my friends at Hotspot who helped me produce that banger. Helped me produce banger after banger for you guys. I know we only did 2 last week. You guys know my friends at Hotspot, my friends at Hotspot, they need some time off too. You know what I mean? They put in a lot of work. They provide a lot of footage for us. They give us a lot of information. They help us put these bangers together. So big shout out to them for this footage of this Rafah bombing. You know, we're gonna come out with 4 hotspots this week. There's so much stuff to cover. We also have my friend Zoya's Love. You already know, Didi. You already know. Zoya's Love. Zoya's Life. We have our friend join today. And before I pass it, what's poppin', Zoya? What's poppin', Zoya?
Hi, RBN fam. So good to see you guys. So good to be here. You see, I changed my display profile in honor of Diggs.
So me and Zoya, we try to warn you guys. If you guys don't know, I knew Zoya before RBN. Zoya goes back, my friends. Before RBN, there was 10 Demands. Like I found that we got all these damn groups that I helped co-found it. 10 Demands. Big shout out to Zoya. Big shout out to my friend Awkward as well. Well, we was warning people about the police and their role in this. We have police, and I showed this on Thursday, that are actively teaming up with the New Age Pinkertons, the frat boys, Zionist mobs that are definitely being paid off by the Mossad and other capitalists. I mean, they're not even hiding. I'll show you guys that on Thursday. And now you guys see the new fascism here in our streets. People seeing that the police serve Israel instead of the United States, and we try to warn them. So what's poppin', Zoe? We got Zoe in the house. Big shout out to Didi Geopolitics as well. I appreciate the super chat. Thanks for the 999. Also, always enjoy the content for Didi Geopolitics as well. So glad to have you watching. Zoe, anything you want to add? Because I was about to start my monologue, but it's always great to have you on. It's been too long. Zoe, you gotta know Nick and Zoe, we line shit on fire on YouTube at late nights. The biggest crime, I want to pass to you, Zoya, just to get your general thoughts about Rafah. We're also going to cover the Western, and this is what I'm really looking forward to. The first segment is just pure depression. I think that when we talk about Putin, I think that'd be more going to be more enjoyable. You have the West that's completely melting down over Putin's coronation. I had a hard time even picking what propaganda segment I wanted to show you guys. Like the West was losing their mind. But one thing I'm gonna say before I pass to Zoe for your overall statements, I'm gonna put some more footage. I'm trying to be very careful because I got shit pulled before, but I trust Hotspot and their sources. That's why I'm only using Hotspot, so that I have no excuse to pull my shit no more. But you guys see, from now on, refugee camps. It's now refugee camps used to be considered off limits, my friends. Refugee camps is now legitimate targets. You see why Israel and the West must be stopped? They are redefining the rules of war. And we absolutely cannot let them get away with this. Now, hospitals was considered off target. It was considered out of bounds. Now, hospitals, legitimate targets. Universities, considered out of bounds. Illegitimate targets. Now it's a legitimate target. Rafah, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I should fact check myself on this. I'm going on pure memory, so I'll just say that. But Rafah is like 600,000 women and children. Chat, let me know how those numbers sound right. I'm just going on memory here. 600,000, 700,000 women and children. And we live in a society which is afflicted with mass genocidal psychosis. We're now going after women and children and executing entire families is now okay. It's outright terrorist logic. Zoe, anything you want to add before we move on? We have a lot to cover. There's no way we get through it all, but I'm going to try to get as much as we can.
I think you're right on the numbers, but I'd have to look it up also. Oh, thanks for
fact check me, Chad, if you want to. I'll just go on memory on that, but go ahead, Zoya.
Before we get into Rafah, on the police.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw you give a shout out to 10 Demands. It made me so happy. It's just the show that I watched with you and JB today. Great episode as always. I just wanted to say that we've been warning that this would happen for years. And it gives me no pleasure that it's actually happening. But you guys have to read the writing on the wall, and you can't keep ignoring reality. The cops have been getting more and more brutal, even before Black Lives Matter. Occupy Wall Street under Obama. I mean, does anyone even remember Kent State, where state troopers slaughtered students, shot them dead for protesting the war in Vietnam?
And just quickly, Zoe, when you watch the coverage from quote unquote liberal news outlets, MSNBC, CNN, they are essentially salivating for it to happen again. Like we're surrounded by psychopaths. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's not that it hasn't happened here before. It has. I just want to refresh people's memories because we tend to have amnesia in this age of over-information. So, this government is just becoming more authoritarian in writing. And back then, even during the Chicago 7 and the DNC convention where they were cracking skulls open with batons, now they're better equipped and they're more militarized. Yeah. So they have become far more effective at causing damage. And these rubber bullets, as they're called, are typically made of hard foam and metal. And they're the size of anywhere from a child's fist to an adult fist. These are massive. They have murdered people. They have caused permanent life-threatening damage. And police are using this on protesters at will. These are children. These are teenagers. I don't care if they're misguided, misled. You can take them into custody without this kind of violence because we see it happen in other countries. I just watched a video of a policeman in China dealing with a man wielding a knife, and he disarmed him in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Martial arts.
yeah. You see that I've seen so much footage of that. You see this all the time where in other countries police de-escalate. The job of the police is actually to serve. The police in the United States, they escalate conflict. So as they are pretending that these protests against genocide are violent, the only violence that is happening is the violence caused by the police. And I love your example you give with rubber bullets, where Americans like, oh, it's rubber. No, it's not. Jesus Christ, their marketing is insane. And another thing they have convinced people is that tear gas is okay to use on their own population. My friends, do you guys know that using tear gas in a war is considered a war crime? So, white America, I'm asking you guys this question. How is tear gas considered a war crime in war, but it's okay to use on your people? You guys know that's a caveat they use. They say, well, technically using tear gas is a crime of war, but there's no law against using it on our own people. And Americans just accept it. And for decades, the police have been actively lying about the effects of tear gas.
And you know what's funny about that, Nick?
Yeah.
Right. Recently, they published an article accusing Russia of using chemical weapons, and literally what it was tear gas. So when Russia
I'm gonna see if I can find it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Damn, that's a good receipt. Let me see if I can find it.
So when Russia does it, it's a war crime. It's chemical warfare, evil authoritarianism. But when our police is using this on civilians, it's perfectly fine. How does that work? How does that double standard exist in our minds?
And Zoe, and remember, during this time, especially during the George Floyd protests, when you had coronavirus, you had liberals that was talking about comorbidities, pre-existing conditions. That's when all of a sudden you had liberals in the establishment talking about like asthma and how pre-existing conditions and premorbidities will make it so that COVID is more deadly to those people. Those same people making that argument was cheering on the police tear gassing the same people they said had comorbidities and pre-existing conditions. And this is a good point made by this article. I just dug this article. This is a great point. And I was skimming it. They were saying all these liberals were talking about how you have asthma, all these people have respiratory problems during COVID. How can you guys say that so many Americans have respiratory problems, but it's okay with people, those same people being tear gassed? And I'll just read the headlines. It's not a segment. I covered this many times. Tear gas is way more dangerous than the police let on. Especially during the COVID pandemic. That's what I was just explaining. And for decades, the police would say, oh, it has bullshit studies. Like, oh, well, tear gas is a short-term harm. No, there's never been any long-term studies about the effect of tear gas. And it's been well documented that tear gas can be lethal with people with asthma. If you're pregnant, it can cause people who are pregnant to miscarry. During 2020, during the George Floyd protests, I covered it on my small YouTube channel at the time. You had many people who was at these protests who miscarried because it was gassed by our government. And you had Orthodox Jewish people, and you had peace-loving Jewish people who came out and protest against Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. And then the response of the West was to then gas the Jews. You can't make this up, my friends. You had the police in Germany tear gas Jews. Police in America tear gas peace-loving Jewish people who are living up to their oath of never again. And meanwhile, Zionists in the West, they don't bat an eye at this fact. They don't bat an eye over the fact, and I had a viral tweet where I mentioned how Israel is literally gassing Jews right now because you have protests in Israel, conference, very small percent, once again, the Orthodox Jews who are victims of authoritarian in Israel. There was tear gas. So the irony is that the country actually gassing Jews in the modern age is Germany, United States, and Israel. Anyway,
Because
is there anything else you want to add to the cop point? There's so many. I wish I could find that receipt that you were talking about earlier. I know exactly what you was talking about regarding that hypocrisy regarding Russia and tear gas. Was there anything you want to add before we move on?
Well, I just feel like, it's been a while since we did a 10 demand segment, and I wanted to reiterate some points, especially for conservative viewers. You have a section of conservative audience, and I also talk to right wing people who their complaint is, that order and you can't have destruction of property. But I want you to understand, just like we were warning people, we were warning you that it will be used against you too. This is tyranny of the government. You saw what happened on January 6th, which was a joke, not an insurrection. And it was them manufacturing consent. And there's a story that has slipped under the radar that Biden is going to fund the police. I believe it was 37
Yeah,
million.
here it is. So yeah, hold that thought, because just to show the receipt. This is our friend Chuck Moody, who does great shows with CJ every once in a while. Chuck Moody said this is insane. After sending 26 billion more to Israel, Biden is sending up to 37 billion more to the United States police to criminalize protesters and turn United States cities into mini Gazas. So let me play the short clip, and then you can finish your thoughts, Zoya.
The answer is not defund the police. It's fund the police. Fund the police.
So good job, MAGA, for supporting the instrument that will be used on your own oppression. Like if the liberals decide to take your gun, you know who's going to sign up quickly to take those guns? The police. And now the police is here to protect and shield the establishment from the populists protesting their horrific policies. So Zoe, I'll pass it back to you if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I wanted to remind the fiscal conservatives that really see this from a different perspective, and you're not going to appeal to them from a humanitarian angle, that police are over half the budgets in most major cities where your infrastructure and other essential services are neglected, yet they're ineffective. Police, it's a statistic that you can look up, only solve 2% of all major crimes. And I bet those people were on the scene and they didn't have to do any real detective work. They are not protecting you. They show up after a crime is committed. And no one's saying, to have anarchy. But this does not work. And this is a threat to all of our freedom. You guys are so concerned with freedom of speech, supposedly, but this is freedom of movement. This is freedom of protest. By these new standards that this government is implementing, all of the civil rights actions, even sitting on the in the bus, would have been trespassing, would have been a criminal act. They are going to narrow our freedoms more and more, especially with modern surveillance technology and face recognition and the way your data is attached to your phone, and they are using your phones to geolocate you. Google turns over that data to cops, all these other companies. You are carrying snitch devices on you, which, by the way, leave your phone at home if you're going to protest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone better unite around this issue, or they're coming for all of us. Look at what's happening with the economy. If it hasn't hit your wallet yet, first of all, it's impacting half of the country, and they are going to come steal from you out of desperation. And then it'll impact you. And today you might be in a comfortable situation, but tomorrow you won't be, and you'll be treated just like this.
Yeah, the entire right, as I said before, is fraudulent. These are the same people my entire life who's shouted, "Give me liberty or give me death." And then whenever they see any group challenge this corrupt government and challenge the criminals of the ruling class, they immediately turn against it. I saw a poll. Let me see if I can find it. I saw a poll that was kind of depressing, where it showed how, and the reason I was thinking about what I'm going to cover it, because obviously polls are controlled by the ruling class, their propaganda sources for the ruling class. There was this poll that was showing how most Americans are disapproving of the campus protest. And of course, what they don't tell you, and that's why I say they use for propaganda purposes, because when you look at the tabs, when you look at the details of the polls, like when you look at people 40 and under, it's literally 2-1 support the protest. Then when you look at Gen X and boomers, they like, don't ever protest the fucking government. You stay in line. Like when you look at over 40, 50 and older, they hate the concept of people challenging the government. And let's see. Damn, man, I can't. I probably should say this poll. Here's some example. Let me see. Protest America poll. Let me search that, see if I can find it. I was reading this earlier. Here's the Washington Post. Maybe this is it. Americans more likely to oppose than support college protests. In general, Americans are skeptical of protests.
And you know what? Part of the speculation comes from the fact that so many of our movements have been co-opted. And
Absolutely.
It ends in nothing. We had BLM, the leaders sold out. They endorsed Biden, even though their charter says not to get involved in politics. A bunch of chapters broke away because they felt betrayed. And ultimately, we got more police and more police funding. So that's another aspect of the skepticism for these protests. And something I want to say to the students on campus who right now, they're showing a lot of courage and vigor, but they are still young. And I've seen signs amongst the protesters that are anti-Syria, anti-Assad, anti-Iran. So there are still these liberals that are funding the organizations and therefore demand to have a voice. And I was victim of this as a young activist myself. So do your own research, don't get misguided, and you need to have a plan for what happens a year from now and 5 years from now. Otherwise, all of this is gone from people's memories really quickly, and that's how we don't achieve anything. You need a plan, and you need to keep infiltrators out of your movements.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what you explained earlier. Look at the contrast here, my friends. Ukraine alleges Russia increasingly using tear gas illegally in battle. Literally within, what was that? This was April 17th. This is April 25th, so about a week from each other. Arrests get violent as cops deploy tasers and tear gas on campus protesters. And fam, to highlight how absolutely psychotic the ruling classes and police are. You know that every police officer, at least to my knowledge, they go through the taser test. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zoe. They all, you know how all police officers get tased to know what it feels like?
Yeah, that's part of their training. They absolutely know what they're doing.
So despite knowing what it feels like to tase people in the horrific, torturous pain that comes with, you have police that still uses it on old grandmas, young teenagers. Like, how psychotic are you? How psychotic are you to see young people that could be your child? Like, you know, a lot of these middle-aged police officers, these are children. These are people that could be their child, old enough to be their child, and they just brutally beating the fuck out of them. Like, there's something fucking wrong with you people. And one of the biggest shocks that are being in that, or at least I would say I have, is that I highly push back on military bootlicking culture. The bootlicking culture of the police, where people are like, oh, well, police are trying their best. No, fuck you guys. Police are the most psychotic people in our society. The most bootlicking, psychotic section of our society become police officers, and then they are coerced to do the bidding of the ruling class because they get fat retirement packages. When you look at how much police gets paid, they are not working class. They get giant 6-figure salaries in many cities. So they are paid off by the capitalist class to do the bidding of the capitalist class, and they do it extremely enthusiastically. Extremely enthusiastically. And that's why it blew my mind. I immediately lost faith in anyone who pushing the idea of right-wing populists when we have these quote-unquote right-wing populists, these white boy revolutionaries who pretended that it was anti-establishment. And then I wrote op-eds about defund the police or being pushed defund the police. And they're like, no, we need to fund our oppressors more. Okay, you guys are holding back our movement. No matter what kind of content you do, no matter I speak up against COVID, I speak up against authoritarianism, and then you want to fund our oppressors? Like, our society is filled with bootlicking scum, traitorous scum. Like, and this is the point I'm going to continue to make. And this is the point that I made during my speech at KU. And this is why I love doing those public speaking engagements and why you guys need to go outside and touch grass every once in a while. Because in the audience, I was the only black guy in the damn room. We talking about Lawrence, Kansas. And then amongst the crowd, there was actually a surprising amount of older people there. There are a lot of older white people in the crowd. I'm explaining to a lot of older white people, I'm deep in Kansas, very conservative area, and I'm telling them about how the police is used to protect the criminals in our ruling class. And you guys can't see it in the speech because the camera is focused on the panel, but everyone listening like, oh my God, this motherfucker's spitting. This motherfucker's spitting. So the people are ready to rise against the ruling class, and then you have these duopolis bootlickers, these Republicans and Democrats that then do propaganda on behalf of the police to try to in order to bring these people back. The people who are more likely to nod their head at an RBN speech. And that's their job. But anyway, Zoe, anything you want to add? Anything else you want to do on the police? Because I want to cover why we need to protest this criminal government as well. I'm going to get to Rafah next. No rush, because if you have anything else you want to share on the police, I'm more than welcome to pass it to you as well. The plan is we're going to cover some Rafah. The Rafah segment not going to be that long. I can't even show you guys all the images because the images, it'll get me demonetized immediately. Like what we're seeing out of Rafah is horrific. So we're going to briefly cover that. And then I'm going to show you guys just the Western meltdown over the coronation of Putin. And you guys know I had to do the Russia-Ukraine segment as we got our powerful friend, Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life is here. So Zoya, I'll pass to you. Anything else you want to add? Because it's good that we did another 10 Demands police segment. So anything else you want to add, Zoya?
Yeah, I just want people to understand that, again, for right wing, because I already know we have the left, you are willing to see that aspects of your government are traitorous. They have betrayed the country. They have betrayed your best interests. So you think they're criminals and they're traitors. Who do you think enforces their policies? And what do you call those who serve traitors? Are they not traitors themselves? I understand if the police was actually serving our communities, but they factually and statistically aren't. Like in China during COVID, you had police officers bringing people groceries. See, those kind of police, I would support. Thank you. You are actually serving our community. But in America, people have to understand that our cops are sold out. They are serving corrupt politicians, and they're going against the interests of the people to suppress us. At this point, supporting them is going against your interests too.
Absolutely. We live in the heart of the empire, in the most corrupt, most violent regime in modern human history, and it's not even close. You guys notice how people in the West, they always invoke Godwin's law. Whenever you talk about anything in history, you always bring up the Nazis. And I try to not do that as well because that's a thing. Godwin's law. You know why they do that? Because if you was to talk about modern criminals, the level of someone like Hitler, you would talk about only Western officials. I don't believe in lesser two evils argument. I am 100% okay with ranking Hitler as the like Michael Jordan of criminals. You know what I mean? But when you look at Henry Kissinger, my friends, and what he did to Cambodia, where they bombed Cambodia to the Stone Ages. When you look at the millions that they killed in Vietnam, the millions that they killed in North Korea, Americans hate North Koreans for no reason, even though we killed 3 million of their people. So once again, I don't like comparing evil. I think it's a waste of time. But when you look at the body count of someone like Henry Kissinger, that's why they skip over that. They're like, oh, the last evil person we had was Hitler. No, the last Hitler just died. Henry Kissinger. That motherfucker's body count was insane. We have Anthony Blinken, who's a modern age Hitler. We have Joe Biden, who's a modern age Hitler, who served in multiple administrations, who was a senator for 40 years. Every single war that the United States has waged, every single economic war that we waged, every single act of sanctions that starved the global working class, Joe Biden was there supporting it. God knows what Joe Biden's body count is. So these same people would say we need a fascist police force because Americans are uniquely rebellious. Americans are uniquely criminal. The same people who say this are the people who outright violate international law. They violate their own laws all the time. But who's going to enforce it? They insider trading like crazy, taking bribes like crazy. Like you have Biden that's violating Leahy's law, where you're not allowed to send weapons and arms and munitions to countries committing human rights violations. So then they say, oh, we need order on campuses because the students are breaking the law, as our government is outwardly breaking the law all the time. All the time. You see how they implement harsh law and order authoritarianism on the proletariat? But meanwhile, they are extremely lax and libertarian when it comes to enforcing laws on the rich and the ruling class. I am asking people to decolonize their mind and understand the exact opposite should be happening. One of the reasons why they're afraid of China is because China is prosecuting and executing billionaires. You think I'm opposed to that? I'm opposed of quote unquote law enforcement in a country that is ran by lawless criminals. Once we have a revolution and we have the dictatorship of the proletariat and the will of the people is enforced, and then I will trust law and order to be implemented by that group. I will never trust law and order to be implemented by the corrupt, criminal, capitalist class. And it's insane that anyone will support that. So Zoe, I give you last round on the police. I don't want to take last rant. I'll give you last thought on the police.
Honestly, just to tie it all in, people are really attached to this fantasy image of what a cop is. They start indoctrinating children early with Paw Patrol and, all of the, look at these cute cops coming to help. Which I wish it was true. And then we would support them. But
they have shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Zoya. Look how funny and goofy these cops are. Look how relatable these cops are. Like they always have these buddy cop shows. Don't get me started, but go ahead, Zoya.
Really, what the police are doing is committing a war on poverty. And the statistics support that because most of the people in jail, over half, are there simply because they couldn't afford their bail amount. And they are people statistically that make a yearly income of less than $16,000. These are not lazy people. Over 40% of our homeless population is employed and living in the streets or in their cars. This is a malfunction in the way that government is supposed to serve the people. And it's no wonder, because if you study the history of policing, you will find out that after Vietnam, the same people who served in war and committed war crimes and atrocities came back and wrote the police manuals based on how they treated Viet Cong. And they said that civilians should be treated as enemy combatants. And that has shaped their policies and their tactics. And supporting the police at this stage just goes against us fighting for any of our rights, any of our freedoms, and they're the largest budget sucks in all of our cities. And we're not getting housing, we're not getting education, and you guys should know that it actually costs less to house someone than to imprison them. But then you don't get the millions of people that are employed by corporations like Nestle and Coca-Cola to work for 2 cents an hour producing these cheap consumer goods. This is about economics. And if you're still defending the police in this year of 2024, you're just uninformed and attached to a fantasy.
Zoya. Zoya is love. Zoya is life, my friends. So he's too powerful. We can end it with that. I can't follow that. How can I follow that? Let's and we're gonna continue to do these segments because you got me fired up. Nick and Zoya, when the next time we're doing it? Very soon. Very soon, my friends. Always great to have Zoya on. Especially with what's going on right now. People are realizing that we was right because police was trained with the IDF and now they're seeing the IDF tactics brought back home. Now, anyway, I'll give you the last on the police. So let's move on to Rafah. We still got quite a bit of stuff to cover. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you share the stream if you're enjoying it. You guys know how we are suppressed by the algorithm. So anyone who shares the stream, anyone who likes, anyone who shares with a friend, I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the super sticker, James Stark. Appreciate the support. I recognize that name. Another name I recognize. Thank you for the $2. Baser, Maternal Rage. Kansas went 7-1 Bernie. They're thirsty. Is that true? That's true. Interesting. I worked in Kansas for a very long time, guys. It's very. Let me just say, like, when I hear, and this is why I had a lot of tension with the Bernie left when they see me talk to people. Like the number one thing I've been canceled for is for talking to people. Like Nick, why you talk to Jimmy? Why you talk to Jackson? Why you talk to this person? Like, guys, I am surrounded by conservatives. Like, even the people who vote Democrat, like Black and Latinos in this area, a lot of those people are socially conservative. I have people in my family that is anti-choice. They don't believe in abortions because they're highly religious. Those same people vote Democrat. I have people in my family. I told this story before. I think it was like Thanksgiving. I saw one of my friends one of my cousins I grew up with. I haven't seen her in a long time. She had kids and everything. We same age. It's been like 5 years since I seen her. We used to hang out all the time. And I remember she said something crazy. She said something about gender pronouns. She like, I forgot the exact content, but she's like, man, I remember when men were men, and now we got men calling themselves different gender pronouns. It was like, oh, come on, oh, Jesus Christ. So these are the people that like the progressive left will cancel. And these are the same people that are 100% reachable. They are just socially conservative. And you have, and me and Zoe, we talked about this before. You have all these fake communists, fake socialists on Twitter who cancel other communists and socialists who are socially conservative, ignoring that a large segment of communists in the world are actually socially conservative. Like, for example, there are a lot of communists and socialists in Brazil who voted for Lula, and a lot of them are Black evangelicals. There are poor Black evangelical socialists and communists who are against gay marriage, against abortion. They're very socially conservative. The quote-unquote communists and revolutionaries in the West would cancel those people. They will cancel the same people that they claim they fight for. And that's why I'm always pro talking to people. Because when you talk to people in Kansas, it's very strange. That's why the conservative voter is very strange to me, bro, because I talk to these people. I sold cars. I sold cars in Kansas. I have people who I worked with who vote Republican, but then they hurt my socialist ass and they agree with me. It never makes sense to me. And that's why I think there's like a concerted effort to get people not to talk to each other. And that's one of the things I find to be extremely, like, I will literally lose like faith in you. Like I literally stopped taking people seriously when I see people spread like Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome, all this shit. Nick, why are you talking to this person? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are we supposed to spread our ideas? Anyway, I don't know why we're on this rant. It's the super chat. Anyway, let's move on.
It's triggering. That's why we've been through too much.
Yeah, we have been through a lot, my friend. Anyway, I need to move on because we got 40 minutes in. I had at least 2 more segments I want to get to. So we see how that goes. I will be doing 3 shows this week. I apologize that I only did 2 last week, and I only released 2 videos on Hotspot. So this week I'm gonna have a lot of shows. So there's gonna be a lot of cover. There's gonna be a lot of cover this week. So let's wrap up Rafah here shortly because we already quickly talked about. I'm gonna show this video where talking about where James Elder was talking about how horrific Israel's move into Rafah is going to be. So we can just quickly touch base on this. So let's watch this video. And then
absolutely devastating. You have families in Rafah. Their coping capacity has been smashed. This is 6 months of enduring this war, moving many times, probably having lost a home already. Children are malnourished. They've already been living in conditions with, one shower for 3,500 people. They're being told to move, quote unquote, to a humanitarian zone. That's a unilaterally declared humanitarian zone. That's not a humanitarian zone where humanitarians have been able to provide the services they need to. So I've been talking to colleagues and friends in Rafah this morning, and they're terrified. I was speaking, Lauren, to a young woman. She's like, I know this has been coming. I just don't know what to pack. They'll go to an area in the middle zone, Lauren, called Deri Bala, where there is literally raw sewage in the streets, or maybe to Al Mawasi, which is a beach. Same story applies. Nowhere is safe, but as unbearable as this is, it's happening, and it's going to be horrific.
And is it your understanding that there are only specific areas that people have been allowed to move to, or can they choose?
No, there are specific areas without a doubt. Partly they will have to choose based on those people who have the means to leave. A lot of people have injured children with them. Hospitals, as I've seen, hospitals cannot cope with the number of injuries. There's a lot of children who have had amputations who are back living in tents. Those families will find it hard to move. But geographically, logistically, no, you still can't. A lot of families will not be able to move to the north if they'd hope to. Khan Yunis is impossible. That's another city bordering Rafah. That is rubble, not a little bit, but street after street of rubble. So they'll be pushed into this area called Mawasi, Lauren, which is a beach area. It's sand. It has next to no sanitation or hygiene. It's getting hot right now in Gaza. It's raining today, but it's getting hot. So they'll be in tents side by side, 5 or 6 times the population density of New York City, but all on the ground, not a high rise to be seen, with no hospital care. The last remaining hospital of size is in Rafah, European hospital, so named because it was donated by the people of Europe. It's got 20,000 people hiding there and thousands more in care. They will have to move somewhere without the medical care that they need.
You guys understand that we are now witnessing one of the crimes of the century. One of the crimes of the century we're witnessing right now, as they are calling students on college campuses violent. We're about to witness the slaughter, the purpose slaughter of hundreds of thousands of women and children. And not only that, it's shocking to me that more people are not bringing this up, because this is literally the definition of evil. This is the definition of genocidal intent. When you tell people to leave and evacuate to a certain area, refugee camps, and then you target those refugee camps, that right there is intent to commit genocide. Now, let me show you guys. I showed you guys this before, but this must be mentioned. There's a planned Holocaust in Rafah. A planned Holocaust. They have checkpoints in Rafah. Let me just read it. Yet the checkpoints are designed to allow some women and children to leave Rafah ahead of an expected Israeli offensive. But unarmed civilian Palestinian men will likely be separated from their families and remain trapped in Rafah during an expected Israeli assault. I also covered how they are taking any Palestinian boy, man, I say boy and man, because essentially any Palestinian above the age of like 12, 12 through like 80. Palestinian men 12 through 80 is being rounded up in concentration camps as we speak, my friends, where they're enduring untold tortures. And I mean that for a reason, untold. We only got a little bit of the snippets of the beatings, the sexual assaults that these people are going to, the torture that Palestinians are going through right now in Gaza. We didn't know what Jews were going through during the Holocaust until afterwards. We got details afterwards. That's what's going to happen now. We're going to hear about horrific stuff. I'll show you guys one detail I heard about people who had their arms tied up for so long. These are Palestinian men who was kidnapped by Israel in Gaza. So they tied their hands together. They tied their hands together, handcuffed their hands, put it behind their back. And they were left and neglected so long that they had to have their arms amputated because they went numb and they forever lost feeling in their arms, which I explained before because I know a lot about health in the human body from my martial art days. And it was explained well in this article I read as well. When you lose an arm due to numbness, it is said to be one of the most horrific ways to lose a limb. And you have Palestinians that are losing limbs because they're having their arms tied up to it. That's just one snippet we are getting now. Wait until we get the full fucking story. And there's going to be things that are going to be talked about for years and decades to come. Years and decades to come. And all the people who support it is going to pretend they never supported it. Or there's going to be just a fascist authoritarian crackdown in the West where people don't talk about it because they're already building the political capital needed to do that. So let me move on. I'm going to quickly go through this Rafah. Zoya, if you want to interrupt, feel free. I'll just try to get through this story so we can get to some other ones. Feel free to interrupt anytime if you want to add anything. And on the lead up to the Rafah invasion, I want to show you guys this. I need to get Vanessa Beasley on the show here soon. That's a guest we haven't had on RBN yet. As the liberal class is trying to pretend that Israel is committing genocide and mass genocidal psychosis is sweeping the West only because of Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm here to bring people back to reality. That is the entire country of Israel that is filled with genocidal fascist scum. And I am not afraid to say it. The same way people are not afraid to say that about Nazis. So as the international community, even the most hardcore Zionists in the world, including Joe Biden, many people in the UK, in the Tory party, even in the Labour Party as well, who've been cheering on mass executions and slaughter of civilians in Gaza, even they was like, hey, man, come on, man, we can't go that far in Rafah. We support a little bit of genocide, but you can't go to Rafah. And then Israel was like, no, fuck you, we going to Rafah right now, because if Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't, and this is what a lot of people in the West missed on purpose. If Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't wage this war, if he hasn't committed the war crimes that he has, if he doesn't go on Rafah, the Israeli populace will have this motherfucker hung by a tree. Benjamin Netanyahu is handling the war the way he's handling because he's trying to get support from the population of Israel who wants to see a genocide in Gaza. So the liberals who try to deflect and pretend that Netanyahu is the only problem in Israel, they are purposely getting it wrong. And isn't it interesting? Another thought. The same liberals, the same people like Bernie Sanders, the same Democrats. I wouldn't even go for Bernie Sanders because there was even corporate Democrat scum calling out Netanyahu. Chuck Schumer, for example. Those same liberals calling out Benjamin Netanyahu and saying that Netanyahu is everything wrong with Israel. They are the same people who are freaking out at the prospect of the ICC issuing an arrest warrant on Netanyahu. Yeah, Joe Biden's against it. Democrats and liberals are against it. MSNBC is against it, despite the fact that they pretend to hate Netanyahu. You guys see the game they're playing? If you guys hate Netanyahu so much, wouldn't you welcome the ICC putting an arrest warrant on Netanyahu? You guys see how they don't really oppose Netanyahu and what Israel's doing? They're just trying to play liberals for the dumb rubes that they are. Now, the video you guys saw was I didn't have it played because obviously we can't understand, at least I can't. You have Israeli soldiers chanting, God help us destroy Rafah. And you also have the Israeli populace on the eve of the invasion of Rafah, dancing and celebrating like they were at a black barbecue. Like they had a barbecue in Kansas City. Like they having a blast here.
כביש מספר 1, כל המשאיות לעזה חוסמים אותם, זה הדבר שלנו לעזה.
They're not cheering for the prosperity of humanity. They're celebrating for an upcoming genocide on a refugee camp. And people are still afraid to call these people the scum that they are? They are cheering the upcoming execution of 600 to 700,000 women and children. A complete massacre of every man in the population. You guys know there have been so many mothers, so many women caretakers who were murdered over the last 8 months or so, that now that you have a large amount of Palestinian families that they are single dad households. They have a single male guardian. Maybe an uncle took these people in, because that's the reality of the genocide. Entire families were wiped out. Maybe one person left. Maybe a few children would be left. They would lose their mother. So now you understand there are a lot of families that are holding on by a thread by a single male guardianship, and now Israel is planning to wipe out all those males, leaving countless orphans. My friends, this is what Israelis are cheering for, my friends. Here, let me play some audio. He danced up hard and shit.
כל המשאיות לעזה, זהו, נגמר.
אבינו שבשמיים, אנחנו מאמינים אין לנו עתיד להישאר,
Outright subhuman garbage. Now do you guys see why? And I refuse to set the talking point that it's all on Netanyahu. We are dealing with a genocidal fascist population. I'm gonna show you guys. This is from my speech in KU. I can't wait till my next speaking engagement. But this is the point that I really want to nail home. I'll constantly nail home, especially if I'm outside my audience. Because as they tell people that Hamas are terrorists, who I commend, I refuse to condemn Hamas, because I commend anyone who will fight these terrorist scum. I see the greatest evil on the face of the planet, and then there are an organization that is fighting them based on their right to, as a colonized people, to fight against their oppressors. We're talking about Hamas here. Hamas is fighting against their Zionist Nazi oppressors, and I'm supposed to be against that? Motherfucker, I am rooting for them. Actually, I gotta be careful because I'm on YouTube. I'll be careful. Maybe I need to jump on Rumble only to tell you guys how I really feel about this shit. Nick, do you condemn Hamas? In fact, I want these motherfuckers to Rumble only. And the reason why, because Israel and the West are unapologetically promoting terrorist ideology, as I explained here in this video. International law. Collective punishment is a war crime. So when you hear Israeli officials, even we covered Lindsey Graham, we covered many people in Congress that said we need to dispel the notion that there's an innocent Palestinian. I want you guys to understand that when someone does that, they are advocating for terrorist ideology. And I know that you probably. Now I'm explaining this video, but I told you guys when I did a speech, I'm essentially just giving my best hits. The same radical ass shit I say on YouTube in front of my friends and family, most of you guys are already radicalized. I can say in front of an audience. And remember, the Green Party and Joe Stein, they told me, they're like, hey, Nick, this is not necessarily our constituents. It could be, But this is a college event, so we may have liberals there. I saw a lot of older white Americans, as I said earlier, in the crowd as well. But despite that, I'm like, all right, bro, I'm going to just tell them the truth and nothing but the truth, because the truth will wake people up. And at this point, it's probably when I got like the best verbal response. When I was playing, like, bro, it's not Hamas that terrorists, it's the West and Israel. So anyway, I shut the fuck up. I let myself make the point. We need to dispel the notion that there's an innocent Palestinian. I want you guys to understand that when someone does that, they are advocating for terrorist ideology. And I know that you probably had a lot to say, so I'm gonna pass to here soon. But do you guys understand? I'm gonna put it like this: how will you guys define a terrorist? I've been begging people to use the words the way they're meant to be used. A terrorist is someone who believes that they should be able to have the right to take out the enemy without regards to international law. A terrorist is someone who believes they have the right to take out their enemy and there are no red lines. Now, I'm gonna ask you guys, have CNN, MSNBC, or anyone else ever defined what a terrorist is? So according to Israeli logic, because of October 7th, they have the right to bomb hospitals, they have the right to bomb schools, they have the right to put military-aged men in concentration camps where they are now suffering right now, all because they suffered October 7th. This alone is a war crime. Using starvation as a tool of war is a war crime. The Biden administration had a statement where they said that Israel is now considering letting aid into Gaza. And I don't know if the geniuses in the Biden administration understood that that was a sentence of guilt. Because if they're allowing aid to go into Gaza, that means they was blocking it, which is using starvation as a tool of war. So as I explained here, the West, including the entirety of the liberal class who support Biden's foreign policy on this, are outright advocating for terrorist ideology. And that's me actually putting it lightly, because I'll put it Nazi ideology. So anything you want to add? I'm going through this. I'm just trying to get to the Putin story. I got a lot of stuff to cover. I'm sorry, Zoya. Is there anything you want to add, or you can pass it back to me? Anything you want to add before I move on? We almost done. I promise you, we almost done with this segment.
I definitely want to get to the next segment, so I'll just say, I've seen this level of dehumanization, unfortunately, for decades across all sort of global conflicts, and it's so dangerous. I mean, the videos you were showing, it's like a cult. These people have been indoctrinated and literally dehumanize their perceived enemy to the point where they no longer are impacted by children dying, by babies dying. And it's so heartbreaking. And it's really tragic. We're really saturated with war footage like never before. I've been covering all of this stuff for decades, and I've even had to take breaks from the carnage that we're witnessing. I also just wanted to make the point that Hamas did endorse a ceasefire deal that was supported by Egypt and other guarantors. So there was actually a ceasefire deal on the table that offered exchange of hostages, and the only thing they would have to do is keep Rafah safe. And it's a really good move on Hamas's part, because it shows their willingness to actually end the conflict and have reasonable demands, while Israel is not sitting down at the table to negotiate.
Yeah, and then CNN is having a very hard time explaining this as well. Because this is the breaking story today. Or I'll say over the last 24 hours or so, where Hamas accepted this ceasefire deal, and now this is the same deal that Israel agreed to at the beginning of April, and now the Biden administration and Israel completely caught off guard by this, because they've been outmaneuvered by Hamas every step of the way. Israel is losing the war against Hamas, committing mass atrocities, unlike what the West thinks, does not win a war. If Israel is losing this war, they're losing this conflict. Hamas has outmatched them every step of the way. And now look at the cope you see it on CNN because of this.
Hamas agreeing to something, maybe something proposed by Egypt and Qatar, although I'm not sure about that. And then Israel saying, wait a second, this is not the document that we've all been working with and the mediators in Cairo. So what exactly is going on?
We don't know.
Okay.
So we can speculate, right? And we're going to find out more in the next coming days. I mean, I think it's really good as part of that Gantz statement is that they're going to send some mediators to go to Egypt and engage with the negotiators to see kind of what is going on here. But what I suspect is going on is a little bit of several things. I mean, I think that Hamas is definitely seeing an opportunity here to turn themselves from being the bad guys for rejecting the proposal into the good guys for accepting the proposal, and it's Israel that's not, and putting Israel in a position where they really do need to move forward with.
This is the complex political analysis you're getting on CNN. They're saying the reason why Hamas agreed with the ceasefire is because they want to appear to look like the good guys. And they want Israel to look bad because Israel said they support ceasefire, but they are going against this one. It's all a chess move by Hamas to make us look bad. Hey, my friends, not that hard. It's not that hard to make you look bad. Anyway, I think that's what I'm gonna read some super chat so I don't get too left behind. I saw super. Damn, I lost this super sticker that I saw as well. I guess I'll read some comments in chat before I get to the next one. Big shout out to Joseph. I appreciate the super sticker. We about eat well. Appreciate the 999. Joseph shows Joseph some love in the chat as well. I guess I should read some normal comments as well. The comments move too damn fast nowadays. I lost my whole family, but do you condemn Hamas? Absolutely not. We commend Hamas. We commend Hamas here. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoying the stream. We about an hour in it. I guess we get to the Russia story. I have another segment I want to do, but I might save it for later because I want to do the Russia segment while we got Zoe here. But I told you guys, I was in the lab cooking. When I've ever told you guys a lie, my friends? That's all I'm gonna say. When have I ever told you guys a lie? I told you guys I was in the lab cooking, my friends. Oh man, that's all I would say on that. What the other super chat? Where the other fucking super chat go? But just know your boy in the lab cooking. We need to get serious about self-defense, my friends. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Zoya. I appreciate the super chat, Dan. I appreciate all the support tonight, my friends. It really does help the channel, help us continue our citizen journalism that we do here at RBN. Thank you for the 20. I forgot what currency it is. It's hard for Israel to claim they don't have genocidal intent when they launched invasion to Rafah. Colonial United States is purportedly against the invasion, and Hamas is willing to sign a ceasefire. Israel refused. Thanks for $20. I think that with that said, we are caught up on super chat for now. So I want to talk about Putin because Putin just had his coronation. He was just sworn in. I think this is his fourth term, and I had a hard time picking which propaganda segment I wanted to show you guys. Cause, bro, essentially once Putin was coronated, there was this giant Western meltdown. Yeah, we know they've been trying to foment color revolution in Russia for quite some time. The latest failure was Alexei Navalny, where even the intelligence agencies in the United States even found that Putin did not order the execution of Navalny. But we didn't need the intelligence agencies to tell us that. I guess Cornball West did. Because Cornball West hates Alexei Navalny. We reported on this channel, even before that intelligence assessment, that Navalny died because of a blood clot. You know, very easily accessible information. Bree repeated, and I was very disappointed to her repeat the nonsense regarding Putin killing a Navalny. That's when they were having their PNC conversation with Cornel West. It was literally public knowledge that you can easily find that he died because of a blood clot. So, fam, if you think that Putin had Alexei Navalny executed, I need evidence of this incredible, groundbreaking technology that Russia has, a blood clot gun, the blood clot ray, I guess they have. But anyway, let me play this clip. where you have Putin sworn in. It's his 5th term as president. And Zoe, I want you to chime in because this segment was hilarious. You just see pure cope from the West. So let's get into it. I'm gonna ask you to respond to yourself.
Sworn in as Russian president for a 5th time this morning. He won re-election in March, weeks after prominent opposition leader Alexei Navalny died in jail. This re-election was seen as unfair and undemocratic by Western governments. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams is in London with the very latest on this. Holly, it's always great to see you. So let's talk about this inauguration. What did he say, Putin?
Yeah, good morning, Vlad and Anne-Marie. Well, Vladimir Putin took the oath of office with his hand on Russia's constitution, vowing to, quote, respect and safeguard the rights and freedoms of man and citizen. That's despite being elected in what was viewed by many people as a rubber stamp election. Western observers did not think that it was free or fair.
So in the United States, they call you a fascist MAGA extremist if you deny election results in this country. And when you watch corporate media, denying election results is the worst thing you can possibly do. You can fund a fucking genocide. You can fund a whole ass genocide, but if you deny the results of an election, they call you a fascist Trump supporter. Meanwhile, that's what these same liberals do all the time in every other country. Every country that we dislike somehow has unfair elections. So I'm gonna play that clip again. I want you to respond to her claim, Zoya. Let's listen to her say it again. I'm gonna pass it to you.
And on Russia's constitution, vowing to, quote, respect and safeguard the rights and freedoms of man and citizen. That's despite being elected in what was viewed by many people as a rubber stamp election. Western observers did not think that it was free or fair. He supposedly won 87% of the vote.
Supposedly.
And despite the fact that many think that Vladimir Putin has systematically gone about undermining Russian democracy. Now, following the oath of office, there was a religious...
Zoya, my friend, do you agree or disagree with her assessment of Russian elections?
Oh, God, I'm tired. There were international observers. I doubt any election is more scrutinized by the international community. We even had Patrick, who's a journalist, who was an international observer at the elections and reported that everything was orderly and voluntarily and a lot more organized than the elections than we have here. People support Putin because when he came into office, Russia was on the verge of collapse and there was criminality and lawlessness running the country, massive corruption, mafia, and crime. And
they get at least 180 days. And Zoya explained before how there are a lot of loopholes where a lot of them actually get way more than 180 days. In America, and in my state of Missouri, everyone is forced to have a child. You're not allowed to make the choice for yourself. And then when you do have a child, you have no child care options. Your ass gotta get your ass right back to work. And people think that Russia is this some more brutal, horrific country. We live in such a horrific government. Americans and people in the UK have been beaten down to the point where they can't even comprehend a government that is working for the people. They can't even comprehend a government that have popular support. When you have the People's Republic of China, we have Xi Jinping who gives these addresses when he's talking about building the infrastructure. If you get a chance, read the transcripts of the speeches that they will never show you on corporate news that Xi Jinping gives all the time. He gives these speeches where he talks about all the future projects that China has planned. He gave a speech recently that I saw on Twitter. That's why I got my sources from the anti-imperialist accounts, foreign journalists. We was talking about their new upcoming plan to boost high-speed rail. He like, bro, you guys think this high-speed rail shit we got now, right? It's good, bro. Bro, this shit we got right now is trash, bro. Look at this shit we got planned for 2030. He got his speech like, bro, this 2030 plan we have on high-speed rail gonna blow your guys' fucking mind. This new infrastructure project we got planned, bro, we got all these projects. We're gonna build up our ally, bro. His speech is 95, and I'm imploring you guys to read them. 95% of Xi Jinping's speeches is how he's going to make life for Chinese people better. Compare that to speeches you hear in America, where Joe Biden is calling people protesting genocide anti-Semitic. They're giving speeches in America about why we should send billions of dollars to a genocidal apartheid state. They give speeches about why it's so important to defeat Putin in Ukraine. In the West, the speech is all about war, death, authoritarianism. We need to give more money to the police, suppress the people. Guys, start paying attention. This is the contrast that everyone else in the world sees. When Americans give speeches, they talk about death and create national unity, the life that the West simply cannot replicate. Now, I'm sorry for the long rant, my friends, but these two reasons in a nutshell, if you can call it a nutshell, I don't think that was a nutshell, actually. Those two reasons is why you see these sky-high approval ratings. That's why you see 87% supporting Putin. And that's an analysis you would never hear on MSNBC, CNN. Hell, not even on a lot of independent media channels. They say, yeah, we think Russia authoritarian too. Yeah, we think Xi Jinping and China authoritarianism. RBN is one of the few channels that push back against this propaganda. Because I guess Americans, it's easy to sleep at night, I guess, if you convince yourself that other countries are worse than yours because you've given up on the concept of opposing our empire. So you have to tell yourself that Russia's worse. The Bernie Sanders, the Dr. Cornel Wests, they had to tell themselves that Russia's worse because it helped them sleep at night because they failed to resist our empire. So Zoya, that's my rant. I'm sorry. Anything else you want to add? I'm gonna read this receipt to give you a launching pad. I'll give you a launching pad here, because this is what you sent me earlier, and I've been seeing this develop, where you have Russian troops that are now doing drills with quote unquote tactical nuclear weapons. And even when Russia said that shit, I had to push back. There's no such thing as tactical nuclear weapons, guys. Fuck, we should never accept that premise. I don't care who says it. There's no such thing as tactical nuclear weapons. But Russia is doing these drills because of the unhinged statements that is made from UK officials. You had Emmanuel Macron in France that's saying, yo, if Ukraine is about to lose, which they are, we got to send troops in. And here's David Cameron that recently greenlit the use of UK missiles into Russian territories, which we shown before last year and a half ago, was considered off limits. They will scold the Ukrainians for even mentioning that. Now they just, oh yeah, you just launched missiles into Russia. So Zoe, you can, that's my launching pad for you. Feel free to take it anywhere you want. Anything you want to add? Because,
yeah, I mean, it's really outrageous, and how easily it's accepted now by liberals who used to be anti-war. But Russia's foreign ministry said that Cameron's remarks recognized that Britain was now de facto a part of the conflict, and contradicted an earlier assurance that long-range weapons given to Ukraine would not be used against Russia. This was all guaranteed by the West for over a year, and now they are so desperate that they are actually willing to cross Russia's red line. And I'm going to read Scott Ritter's response because I think he summarizes it nicely. He's responding to a general that's pushing for war. And he said, for a general, you're pretty stupid. Russia set a red line, no NATO intervention in Ukraine. France threatens to deploy troops. The UK greenlights use of Storm Shadow for strategic strikes. Russia tells France and UK if they go forward, Russia will retaliate by hitting targets outside Ukraine. This would trigger Article 5. NATO would strike Russia. Russia would hit NATO hard. NATO hits Russian strategic targets. Russia nukes NATO. What part of this escalation ladder don't you comprehend? Russia doesn't bluff. Do you really want to commit suicide over Ukraine? Because after Russia nukes NATO comes general nuclear war, and we will all be dead. So that's a warning to these warmongers, to that money stays here that the Pentagon can't account for. So it's a money-making scam, and these capitalists have terrorized the world for far too long. And now Russia and China are asserting themselves as world leaders. They are following UN guidelines. Officially, the people of Donbass were being ethnically cleansed and suffering from collective punishment, such as their government cutting off utilities like water and gas. They were being bombed. Children were being bombed for 8 years. And this region turned for help to an outside power, something America has used as a justification endless times. And that is in accordance with UN law. So the special military operation that people keep calling an invasion was actually in according to their own rules, because they're setting a standard, because Russia and China are going to be new world leaders. De-dollarization is happening. America's losing its grip. The West is losing colonies in Africa. The world is changing, and they're trying to propagandize to ignore what's happening all around us.
Well said as always, Zoya. I actually need to get back to the segment, because the segment actually getting started. So let's watch some more of this segment, because I'm interested in hearing response, because they actually get even more crazy if you believe it or not. So I'm actually gonna play from the beginning, because I know it's been a while since I went on a few long rants. So I'm gonna let it play from the beginning. Take a quick little smoke break as it play, and I will be right back with my analysis. I'm gonna let a lot of this play as I take a quick break. I'll be right back, and then we can do our analysis. Okay, be right back.
Navalny died in jail. This re-election was seen as unfair and undemocratic by Western governments. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams is in London with the very latest on this. Holly, it's always great to see you. So let's talk about this inauguration. What did he say, Putin?
Yeah, good morning, Vlad and Anne-Marie. Well, Vladimir Putin took the oath of office with his hand on Russia's constitution, vowing to, quote, respect and safeguard the rights and freedoms of man and citizen. That's despite being elected in what was viewed by many people as a rubber stamp election. Western observers systematically gone about undermining Russian democracy. Now, following the oath of office, there was a religious service inside the Kremlin, during which time Putin was blessed. That's very much in keeping with the image that he's constructed in recent years. He's seemingly sought to depict his rule as somehow ordained by God, and his war in Ukraine as something of a holy war. The US and several other Western nations, including the UK, Canada, and Germany, did not send representatives to the inauguration.
So at this point, when he's finished his term, he will have been in charge of Russia, ruling Russia longer than Stalin. What does a fifth term look like for Putin?
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? His first inauguration was back in the year 2000. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a very long time ago to me. If he serves out this current term, which is 6 years, it will make him the longest serving Russian leader since Catherine the Great.
Wow.
Back in the 18th century, the 1700s. That's almost 300 years ago. And as you just pointed out, he's faced some stiff competition since the time of Catherine the Great, including all of those Tsars in Imperial Russia and Joseph Stalin, who served as the leader of the USSR for nearly 30 years. I think viewed from the West, Putin's legacy will be very much defined by the war in Ukraine. I mean, he presumably thought that he was going to win that conflict very easily. It's believed that he was lied to by some of his closest advisors in a system where telling the truth can be pretty dangerous. Tens of thousands of Russians have died in Ukraine. In fact, by some estimates, well over 100,000. Russia is now isolated from the West, and Putin himself is under indictment by the International Criminal Court. I think the other aspect of his legacy, at least viewed from the West, will be Alexei Navalny. I mean, he was Putin's most significant opponent, his critic in chief.
Okay, guys, I did the best I could. Now you guys see why I have a hard time letting these videos play without stopping.
Dr. West would love this.
Oh yeah, Dr. West, he loves this shit, bro. So before I pass to you, Zoe, because I know you fucking fuming, so I'll let you take most of it. The only thing I'll take is I love how they always fearmonger. Or, oh my God, Putin's been in charge for so long because Russians support Putin. Guys, you guys know that Dianne Feinstein served into the Senate until she died? Joe Biden, our president, was senator for 40 years, then was vice president, and then became president. Joe Biden was in power for at least 45 years on the highest level. Mitch McConnell was the permanent oligarch of the Republican Party for decades. I see you, DD Politics. Yeah, I'm gonna join you in space here one of these days here soon. So in the United States, we have oligarchs where we cannot get rid of them because we live in a capitalist dictatorship. So in this capitalist dictatorship, you can predict who's going to win with around a 98% rate, 98% success rate. So the capitalists pick who's going to win the election every time before it even starts. So they choose these people who are going to be permanently installed in their seats. Like right now, progressives hate John Fetterman. Hey, I try to warn you guys about John Fetterman because if you think you're going to get rid of John Fetterman, it's not going to fucking happen. I see people like, well, let's primary John Fetterman. It's not going to happen because he's about to be funded by AIPAC. He's about to outraise everybody. He's never going to lose. He's never going to lose. We are stuck with oligarchs in the Senate who cannot lose. And they were talking about Putin. So I'm sorry, I that was crazy. I was fuming. I know you was too, Zoe. I won't pass it to you. I said I'll let you go off first, but I ended up going off. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zoe. Anything else you want to add? I'm gonna let the rest of this unhinged clip finish. But I had to take a stop.
Let's let it finish because I just want to dismantle all of it.
Oh, okay, yeah, well said, Zoe. So I'm gonna go back like 20 about a little bit here, and then I'll let you try and make it, bro. I already know you feel me. Actually, I'm gonna go back a few seconds here. Play all the way through as I finish my little smoke break.
I mean, he presumably thought that he was going to win that conflict very easily. It's believed that he was lied to by some of his closest advisors in a system where telling the truth can be pretty dangerous. Tens of thousands of Russians have died in Ukraine. In fact, by some estimates, well over 100,000. Russia is now isolated from the West, and Putin himself is under indictment by the International Criminal Court. I think the other aspect of his legacy, at least viewed from the West, will be Alexei Navalny. I mean, he was Putin's most significant opponent, his critic in chief. When he died earlier this year in a Russian penal colony, there were howls of criticism from the West. And today we heard from Alexei Navalny's widow, Yulia, who said, quote, "Our country is being led by a liar, a thief, and a murderer."
Russia said yesterday, Holly, as you know, that it plans to hold these military drills, including practice for using tactical nuclear weapons. What is the strategy behind this?
Well, so Russia said that it's going to hold these drills near Ukraine, sort of for the possible use of tactical nuclear weapons. Now, tactical nuclear weapons are smaller nuclear weapons, smaller warhead, and the idea is that they would be used on a battlefield rather than a larger weapon that would be used to target a city. What is the strategy here? I think it's pretty blatantly to intimidate. It's meant as a warning. It's not Russia's first attempt to do that. What is the intent? Well, presumably it's to pressure the West into dialing down its support for Ukraine, or even to pressure Ukraine into a compromise. And a compromise presumably would mean giving up some of Ukraine's territory. Up until now, the pretty consistent answer to that from the West has been that any kind of compromise would be unacceptable and would set a dangerous precedent for dictators or wannabe dictators around the world.
All right, Holly, thank you very much.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I told you guys, there's so many segments just like this. I had to choose one. I'm like, man, which one I'm going to go with? There's just one of many, my friends. I don't want you to think this was uniquely unhinged. This was on every single channel, the same exact talking point to the T on every channel. But go ahead, Zoya. I pass it to you. I'm interested in hearing your rebuke of this.
What is America's intent with holding military exercises right on Russia's border in coordination with its Western allies? What is America's intent? Because believe me, on Russian televisions, that's what's playing. And the Russian population knows exactly who the bully is. They know what the West is. They know what the West does. These people lived through the collapse of their country, the Soviet Union, after which all of these conflicts magically appeared as the NGOs poured into these countries and started selling color revolutions. We saw it happen in Georgia. We see it happening now in Kazakhstan. And that's exactly what the fate of Ukraine was. Ukraine was never a sovereign country. Ukraine means at the edge of, edgeland. It was the edgeland. It was a buffer zone. It was populated by ethnic Russians, and it was only a sovereign country since 1991. And it stopped being a sovereign country in 2014 with Maidan, with that color revolution, where snipers were slaughtering innocent civilians gathered at a peaceful protest. And then we had a transition of power to a CIA puppet. And the CIA puppets do what they're meant to do, what we've seen them do in countless coups in other countries. Just look at Latin America, Nicaragua, Venezuela for a more recent example with what America was trying to do to Maduro. Russia has not couped any government. Russia has a tiny, like 20 military bases for the largest country on earth, while America has over 900 now. We used to say 800, now it's over 900. And people want to pretend that this isn't a security threat when we've seen what America does to other countries. The audacity of these people to gaslight the American population as if any country can possibly ever be a bigger aggressor than America. What was done in Yugoslavia was the bombing of school buses, civilian infrastructure, and it violated UN law because UN is supposed to be a defensive alliance. But their actions were actually offensive and against their own fake rules of law and order that they pretend that they follow. This country is the largest hypocrite on earth. And this is exactly what they're doing with the fear mongering around China. I mean, it's comical at this point. All of those Economist covers and other articles of like, how China is achieving incredible progress, and they always end with at what cost? Or how dare China be producing energy efficient vehicles that are really cheap? I mean, they are an incredible competitor with their manufacturing capacity, and Russia has the raw materials. Between Saudi Arabia and Russia and the other BRICS members, they're going to control a majority of the oil reserves. That's what this is really about. This is about Russian troops right now escorting American troops out of Niger. That's what this is about. Yeah, people think it's about Ukraine, but no one has gone more completely screwed by this than the Ukrainian population. Half of the population since pre-war is gone. They either left or they're now in the newly liberated regions by Russia. Russia has gained over 20% of Ukrainian territory. Russia's losses, while those statistics might be accurate, that it's 100,000 people, they conveniently leave out that it's been hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who are dead and hundreds of thousands more that are missing. An entire generation of males is decimated. And just like you pointed out earlier, Nick, there's going to be all of these orphans. There's going to be all of these families that have lost fathers and sons and brothers. And we are seeing incredible corruption there. Now, these criminal entities invested a lot of money in this little project they call Ukraine. And even today, creditors formed an alliance to start demanding money back from Zelensky. They want their money back because they can see the writing on the wall. And they don't care how many Ukrainians die. They tell you they don't care how many Ukrainians die.
All the time.
So believe them when they tell you. And, also, it was just the anniversary of the Odessa massacre. And that's the city I'm from, Odessa, USSR. which is now called Ukraine, sadly, and this happened like a decade ago. Azov neo-Nazis came to the city where people were just peacefully existing, pregnant women, children, and they started stabbing them and locked them in a building, the trade union building, set it on fire, and those who were jumping to their death out of the building, they would beat and stab to death. And this is all on video. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up. Go look it up on YouTube. These kind of atrocities is exactly what changed the ethnic Russian-speaking population's mind, who, by the way, elected Zelensky on a Peace with Russia platform, to start opposing their government and ask Russia to bring them back into the territory. That's why every time there's an election held in any of these territories, whether they want to rejoin Russia, Russia always wins by staggering numbers. And when they come into these towns, the first thing they start doing is rebuilding. And these people will appreciate that. And Putin has always said, these are our brothers and sisters. This is a war with the West. And in the end, we're going to have peace in the region and remind everybody of our historical ties. That's why he's been going slowly. It's not, they always frame it like he attempted to take over Ukraine and lost. But no, he knows these are our brethren. There are so many intermarriages between Ukrainians and Russians. I mean, Ukrainian is really this artificial identity. And these people forgot, they got brainwashed by American Western propaganda, and they really thought that something good is going to happen, that they're going to get all of this aid and all of this benefits, and they've just been abandoned and left in poverty and for decades, whoever's left and whatever is left of Ukraine is going
to that point, Zoya, there was Banderite Azov Nazis who was openly bragging about how the West is funding their conquest. So, and then these same Azov Nazis, as you mentioned earlier in your fantastic spill, and I'll pass it right back to you, they was targeting and they was violently assaulting and purging these ethnic Russians in Ukraine who didn't bow down to Western pressures. But anyway, so go ahead. I want you to finish your thought.
If you can pull up the last screenshot that I sent you on Twitter. So this is something that maybe a lot of people don't know. It's not as, I mean, it's not covered at all in Western news. So unless you guys are on Telegram or watching international news, you wouldn't hear about this. So the last picture I sent you.
Is it this one?
Not that one. Right after that, you see Poroshenko. That's the former president of Ukraine, and and the last one right after him. That's Zelensky. This is an arrest warrant that has been issued by Russia against Zelensky, against Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine, who said on live television that their kids will grow up in basements while our kids go to school. Russia has gathered enough criminal evidence to actually charge these people. They plan to hold tribunals. This also puts peace talks in question, because once you announce that the dictator of a country is a criminal, who are you going to negotiate with if you're no longer recognizing him? He's technically still the sovereign leader, but he overstayed his stay. They no longer hold elections in Ukraine. So he's past his terms. So at this point, even negotiations are up for question, and Russia doesn't have an incentive to negotiate anymore. Too many red lines have been crossed, too much has been invested, and they know if they back off, then the West can just rebuild like they did during the Minsk agreements and come back. These tunnels that the Ukrainians are using in this SMO, they were being built for a decade. These kind of tunnel networks are not built in a year during the SMO. They were preparing for this for a long time. And you don't have to believe me. Everyone always wants to say these are Putin talking points, but you can literally verify all of this information from Western sources. Amnesty International was recording the humanitarian crisis in Donbass, and they're pro-Ukraine, but they were recording it because they were there delivering aid. And you have the former chancellor of Germany, Merkel, herself saying that they lied when they were signing the Minsk agreements with Putin, and they just wanted to buy time to deliver more weapons and train these Ukrainians for war. Then we have the tentative peace agreement, which already happened a while ago before Ukraine lost all of its territory, where Russia was very generous. Turkey was a guarantor, and it was almost signed. And you have people in Zelensky's own cabinet saying that they were all on board. And then Boris Johnson paid a visit to Ukraine, and that's it. Communication lines were cut, and the peace agreement was sabotaged. Russia made every attempt, and it's been using kid gloves. But right now, it's coming in to finish the job. And you have seen the situation on the front lines majorly shift. It's become far more aggressive, and they're gaining territory at a much bigger pace. So Russia has won this war. It's just a technicality at this point. And if people don't consult international sources, they will never know the truth.
And if you want the truth, man, I told you guys, Zoya is love. Zoya is like too powerful, my friend. I always see people always ask. So if you guys want to follow Zoya and get these powerful spills, and by the way, guys, I was listening to this space because Zoya always do these amazing spaces, take part in amazing spaces. There's this space where this fucking Ukrainian propagandist or someone who fell for Ukrainian propaganda came in there spewing bullshit. And bro, Zoya cut this motherfucker down. Zoya fucking dismantle, and she does it all the time in these spaces, dismantle these NATO propagandists. So Zoya's love, Zoya's like way too powerful. I actually wanted to go through this other propaganda segment I saved. I'm gonna end the stream on this because I think we can make it 2 topics today with Rafah and Putin and whatever we talk about in between. Because I want to play this one as well. You guys saw, I think that was CBS we just played. I'm gonna play this last clip before we wrap up the stream, and I'm gonna read some great takes from our friend Fiorella here, who we had on, who does great work for RT, great work at the Combo Couch. You guys know we're big friends and supporters of Fiorella. So I'm gonna read her takes. She's actually in Moscow reporting, so she does fantastic work once again. So I want to go through one more of these segments here. This one's only 4 minutes. Every channel has done these segments, and they all just as crazy as the next. So as we wrap up the stream, we react to this last one. So I'll probably play like 2 minutes of it. Probably stop it halfway and then react, and then we finish it through. This be our last breakdown. Unless you have any other receipts you want to go through, Zoya.
Its president for another. Russia has just inaugurated its president for another 6-year term. From London with more. We talked about it in the lead up to the election in March. This was no surprise to anyone. What was the significance of Putin's inauguration today then, Claire?
Yeah, Amara, look, this was a ceremonial event, very choreographed. It sort of lends the trappings of credibility, obviously, to Vladimir Putin, who swept to power, certainly it's believed, outside of Russia in an election that was neither free nor fair. But inside Russia, look, nothing changes. If anything, there's a renewed sense of permanence around his rule. This, his 5th term, may not even be his last. He's eligible to run again in 6 years' time, should he decide to do that. But look, internationally, obviously, many diplomats did not attend.
We do not refuse dialogue with Western states. The choice is theirs. Do they intend to continue trying to restrain the development of Russia, continue the policy of aggression, continuous pressure on our country?
Why the hell are we talking like that?
Or look for
It's hilarious.
and peace.
Hold up. Sorry, guys. But why the fuck do they got this translator talking so fucking goofy? Putin doesn't talk like that. Am I reaching, or is that just another attempt at propaganda? Like, is that a reach?
Propaganda, dude. It's comical, and they're trying to make him sound like a cartoon villain when he's actually like very even tone and logical.
Yeah, look. So I'm playing part again, bro. Holy shit! Like, once again, let me know in the chat. Am I reaching with this analysis? But that's definitely propaganda. Where they make the person who is translating sound like a fucking goof. So people think the world leader is a goof. Maybe I might be overthinking it. Who knows? But let's continue.
We do not refuse dialogue with Western states. The choice is theirs. Do they intend to continue trying to restrain the development of Russia, continue the policy of aggression, continuous pressure on our country for years, or look for a path to cooperation and peace?
So obviously, when he says we do not refuse dialogue with the West, take that with a pinch of salt. He goes on to say that a conversation, even on security, is possible, but not from a position of strength. It has to be on equal ground. The translation is that he will only engage in dialogue with the West if they stop supporting Ukraine, which of course is not happening right now. But it's significant also that Putin sees one key lever that he can pull, and that is, of course, the nuclear threat. Just one day before this inauguration, Russia announcing that it is preparing drills, military drills that would simulate the use of a battlefield nuclear weapon, a non-strategic nuclear weapon. This was in response, they said, to comments from David Cameron, the UK Foreign Secretary, and the French President Emmanuel Macron, suggesting that the West's aid for Ukraine could go even further than where it is right now. So you can see that this policy of confrontation, that nuclear threat, that will be a key challenge for the West as it approaches Putin now in his fifth term.
And Claire, we're hearing some reports of a possible assassination attempt against Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. What are you learning about that?
Yeah, this news is coming from the Ukrainian security services.
I think at this point they're done covering Putin. And I'm going to show you guys this, and I'll pass it to Zoya. I'll give you your chance to add anything to this if you want. But there's a reason why I do these propaganda segments. I was looking at the chat, bro. We find this shit to be goofy, my friends. Remember how Mediaite ranked us as the most far left, unreliable media outlet in the country, which we take great pride in? These institutions who we can't even watch their segments without laughing, thinking like, who the fuck is falling for that? Americans. Americans think they're independent thinkers, but they are not. I say over and over again, the United States is the most propagandized country in the world. I was saying that ever since I started, and I see a lot of people repeat that because it's undeniable. And as we laugh at that, as the RBN, as our corner of society, laugh at this shit, you have boomers, you have white America watch this shit like, oh my God, Putin is evil. I'm like, you gotta stop Putin. Americans' favorability rating of Russia sinks to a new low of 9%. Now you gotta see why we do these propaganda reports. More and more Americans see China as the enemy, not the police, Zoya, not our genocidal ally, quote unquote, in Israel. China is the enemy, my friends. So as we laugh and we joke around in these propaganda segments and we say, oh my God, we can't believe anyone will fall for that. We have Americans falling for it en masse. So Zoya, anything else you want to add to this clip? And I get super chats. We about 2 hours in, so we can wrap up here soon. Any last thoughts?
It's just amazing that they frame these countries as aggressors, as if Putin is, trying to do a coup in Mexico and get Mexico to start a rivalry with America. It is America that is always violating international order. And that has been considered. If you lived through Libya, if you lived through Iraq, like, how do you still trust this government? These are the same people who told you the weapons of mass destruction lie. I honestly thought that would permanently discredit them. You would think, but people have amnesia. So these same people who have sold you war countless times and then quietly retract and apologize and make these corrections, they are still lying to you. I mean, that is the consistent take. Do you think these people suddenly decided that they should start telling you the truth? And the Russophobia, of course, is at an all-time high because we have to pretend we're in a comic book and there's bad guys and good guys, but there aren't. No country is above criticism, not Russia, not China, not anyone. No country is perfect. Do you know any perfect country? I certainly haven't seen one. So I want people to understand I'm never going to say something that isn't factual or like fangirl over Putin, even though this is my country of origin. But America has so many problems and they are aggressors in the world historically that it's unbelievable that you think it's these other countries who only issue threats of retaliation. They only talk about nuclear weapon use or anything in retaliation, and no one's paying attention to in retaliation to what and to who, because those are your real aggressors. And we see this consistency all over the globe. And all of these conflicts are interconnected because Israel has been selling security technology all over the world, including all over the Americas, including Latin America. They pride themselves on this mythology around the Iron Dome and how safe and secure they are. And this has all been very bad for business. And never forget business is a part of it. Never forget the money is a part of it. And these same people literally trained the police, our police. The New York police has an office in Tel Aviv. That's a fact.
Yep.
So you have to make all of these connections, and you just can't without doing research outside of Western propaganda. So when I tell you international sources, I don't mean go to a UK source or France or Germany. Look outside of NATO. Look at sources from Africa, sources from China, sources from Russia. I mean, you're never going to get the full picture without examining everything. Oh, and I'm glad you're pulling that up.
Go off, my friend. Feel free. Go off. We about to wrap up the stream, so you might well get anything off your chest that you have, my friend.
So she's a perfect example because she was literally spying onto this lady, Rebecca Weiner, in the graphic, to be clear. She was literally spying on students and getting the police to crack down on protesters. And it turns out that she served time on the behalf of the NYPD in Tel Aviv. She's their liaison. So we see these ties all the time, and really there's so much debate, does Israel control America? Does America control Israel? They're all in cahoots. These people have symbiotic relationships. They're all copying each other. And no, Israel didn't start this genocidal kind of approach. America was funded on genocide. Hitler, you can read about it in Hitler's American Model, that Hitler modeled a lot of his policies after how indigenous people and other minorities were treated in America. That was his inspiration. In the 1920s, you can also look it up on YouTube, we were having Nazi parades in Madison Square.
Yep.
So, know the history of this country. Just because people are aligning for common interests, we don't have to start choosing who's the worst evil. It's pointless. They're all working together. And on that point, the last point I really wanted to make before we wrap this up is that just like there's infiltrators in the protests and this, look, there's modern COINTELPRO. I forgot the term they have for it. They remarketed it, they rebranded, but they literally have a modern term for it. So expect infiltrators. Study all the leaders of past movements. There were always people internally betraying them, agents, provocateurs, people just leading them down the wrong path. And it's really important that we don't support protests uncritically to the point where we ignore history and start to safeguard against ways we've been sabotaged before. And the same thing goes for who you engage with online. Because I have seen a lot of people, just accounts that literally didn't exist before, came out of obscurity, build an entire massive following on the Russian SMO. And now the same thing is happening with the Palestinian cause. And the
Yeah.
problem with that is that a lot of these people are, they like Soleimani and Khaleesi, they gained this massive following. And right now, Soleimani literally just did a segment, a podcast, a space with a real white nationalist, Nick Fuentes, who has said that no Christian or Muslim or atheist should be president of this country because it's a Christian country. He has talked about idolizing Hitler. He has talked about exterminating people, literally, like literally. He says it's all a joke, but I researched this guy, and no, he's not joking. He founded this whole following called Groypers, and Soleimani just aligned with him and is boosting him and is tying him into the Palestinian cause. But these people have real anti-Semitic sentiment. And they try to conflate Zionism and Judaism, which ignores the fact that most Zionists are Christians, they're evangelicals. So there's so many people who will co-opt, and especially when there's money to be made, but really watch out for who was talking about October 7th. Who was talking about Palestine before October 7th, like Nick, like plenty of people who have been in community for years and have been consistent on the cause, versus people that were defending Andrew Tate from sexual assault accusations and suddenly changed their branding because there was an opportunity. We have to have discipline, and this is why I always talk to people about organizing locally. You should know the people that you're in community with. You should build up trust, and the way to build up trust is by doing work in your communities through mutual aid, community gardens. There's infinite paths, and you might not be able to change the world from your position, but you can change your world. And if everybody is doing that, we can actually get organized in a serious way where we become a threat to power. Because no matter what's happening on the international stage, whether you're pro-Hamas, anti-Hamas, it doesn't matter for Hamas. Hamas is going to do what Hamas needs to do, whether you like them or not. We need to be fighting for our own liberation in this country. And of course, we should have solidarity with all liberation movements, but really they're counting on us to take on the power structures here. And that's what we should all unite on, and that's what we should be focused on. And never punch down at people with no power, whether they're propagandized or misled. Try to educate where you can, conserve your energy, and invest it where it's going to give you the most fruitfulness out of your community. But at the same time, don't do this ridiculous litmus test of whether someone's a Republican or a Democrat, because if we're rejecting the duopoly completely, then these labels are fabricated, and we need to start connecting with each other as people. We need to undo the harm that propaganda has done. We need to remind people what matters to all of us and come together before we lose all of our rights here in America.
Zoya's love. Zoya's life. I'm not gonna follow that. I'm gonna read some super chats and we can wrap up. That's a great way to end this stream for the most part. Nick and Zoya, you know what I mean? We gotta do this again here soon, because some stuff we still gotta cover. My friend, someone still talk about. You gotta know, me and Zoya, we can do this for hours. We can do this for hours. So let's read some super chats. What did I leave off? I'll put this one up because that's some wholesome comment right there. I think I left off here. I'll put this on the screen. I didn't read it. Thank you for being a member. Reminder that Bill fifth column is a. I think that's an account. Yeah, I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I think that obviously there's like so much narrative control going on, and I'm trying to stop myself going on a rant. But there are these people who they're trying to hijack the anti-colonial movement. They benefit and they support colonialism, like Nick Fuentes. He supports imperialism, and then not gas. I promise you guys, look this guy up. I promise to God, this is not me straw man his argument. He literally called for like the dominance of the white race and called for white people taking arms to have that accomplished. Now you guys know why I advocate for self-defense, because I'm here to defeat those people. You know what I mean? So they are here to hijack the anti-Israel sentiment that is building in order to turn it into a pro-colonial, turn those people to a pro-colonial mindset. Because those same people will also condemn Hamas in any form of Palestinian resistance. This is what Alex Jones, this is what Nick Fuentes, this is what all these right-wing cowards are doing. These are the same people who claim they support the Second Amendment, but they condemn Hamas, they condemn Palestinian resistance. These are the same people who still fearmonger over October 7th. Alex Jones never seen a conspiracy theory he didn't believe in. But he's not touching October 7th. And I damn near ratio him the best you could ratio someone like Alex Jones, because I called him out. You can look it up. I called him out and had a tweet that had like over 1,000 likes. Well, I was like, bro, you literally not. He was like, oh my God, I acknowledge what Hamas did on October 7th was evil. Bro, you push every conspiracy theory except the fact that it's been proven that the IDF killed more people than Hamas. Hamas claims that in their operation, there's no reason to not believe them. Their operation, they wasn't trying to kill civilians. Why would you try to kill civilians when the goal of your operation is to take hostages? You guys realize those two things directly contradict each other. If your goal is to take maximum amount of hostages, why are you killing civilians? Now, you got to understand that with all wars, you have rogue war criminal soldiers. I don't deny the fact that there's probably some members of Hamas who disobeyed the overall chain of demand and committed mass atrocities against the wishes of Hamas. Like every war that ever existed, that what happens. But then these people who trying to hijack the anti-Israel movement, what should be anti-colonial, they then condemn the people who are fighting against the state they will call a terrorist state. Like if you say that Israel is a terrorist state, don't we have the right to fight said terrorist state? How can you say Israel a terrorist state and then look at the people who are victims of said terror and say they can't fight back? So that's why, guys, it seems like I'm a nitpicky asshole, guys, but I legitimately do not think you're good on this issue if you condemn Palestinian resistance. Because unlike these grifters, I talked to Palestinians before October 7th. You know what? We did multiple Free Palestine segments and panels. If you look at our General Strike Summit, we had a Palestinian panel. We had a Palestinian panel during the anti-war summit. We was covering this before because we believe in anti-colonial struggle and jihad. You know the term that Alex Jones and all these grifters on the right, they hate? Jihad literally just means struggle. So why would you be afraid of jihad and struggle? So I support their jihad against the terrorist state. And if that's your position, if you are so afraid to say that because your class position, your position within your class is so important, you don't want to tell the truth, I don't think you're good on the issue. That's why I don't fall for this bullshit where people are following these grifters. And I know exactly what you guys are talking about. And I implore you, I can't tell you guys, I don't want to fucking be like policing who you guys follow. But there are a lot of this bullshit that's going around. A lot of people are getting rich off this issue when they suck on it. Oh, I think Netanyahu is bad. Oh, cheers. Oh, congratulations, bro. Congratulations. You're so brave. Anyway, let's move on because we over 2 hours. I need to chill out on the rants. Thank you for the 999 Dan. So much fucking he said like Conor McGregor. So much fucking essential and amazing info in this episode, as always when I have my friend Zoya on. I tell you, man, these streams when Nick and Zoya, bro, it's too powerful for you two, man. I'm surprised they didn't take the stream down. Thank you for 999 Dan. Thank you for the super chat tonight. At least I know some people enjoy the rants. I definitely too much stuff to cover, man. Thank you for the $5. Isn't unelected UK head state blessed by church too? Does West thoughts matter to anyone outside the West? Well said. I see this comment inside my eye. Yeah, you guys roast me all the time, and I accept the criticism. Guys, I'm a country bumpkin. I mispronounce shit all the time. And I don't know why I always say Iran. I know it's Iran. I just can't help myself. I'm a country bumpkin, guys. I'm uneducated. So yeah, I need to start maybe slowing down and saying it. I know it's Iran. I just can't help myself. Guys, I'm a Midwestern country bumpkin. Remember that. Thank you for the $10. I promise you, if you look, everyone in Missouri says Iran, France. And I'm here. Someone made fun when I said Arab once, and I know it's Arab. Like, I know these things, bro. I'm just country in a lot of ways. You guys don't understand. Thank you for the $10. I'll be honest. I'm truly in despair. I can relate to this a lot, guys. I'll be honest. I'm truly in despair and filled with so much anger for allowing the Zio apartheid state such impunity with atrocities committed in Gaza and the West Bank. Not talk about, yeah. You guys know I've been struggling. I've been struggling with this. That's why I've been less strange, bro. Covering this shit is hard for me, man. Just like Zoya said, I get mad, like, I've been just avoiding X for the most part, guys. I'm always as radical as you get on this Israel-Palestine issue. I've been covering this shit for years, man. I don't need to see more dead children. You know how close I am to say some shit that get or being permanently banned on YouTube. I almost said it earlier before. But just know, I'm ready. Like, I'm already been radicalized, but after seeing so many dead children, I'm ready to. A Zionist. You know what I mean? I have to hold back a lot to protect our channel, bro. You guys have no idea what this has done to me. Like, I'm ready to fucking throw hands. I am not a pacifist, bro. And I'm afraid that I might cause a moment that may make the Palestinian resistance look bad. Because I covered how these student protests are attacked by these Zionist thugs, and we are getting these great PR moments because these people in our movement are being brutalized by these fascist Zionists. I don't think I'm gonna do that. Like, I think I might fuck this shit up for us. That's why I've been trying to avoid this, because if I have a Zionist come at me, guys, I am to the mental point where I'm going to snap their fucking neck. Like, and this is because of the shit I'm covering, bro. Like, I am becoming insanely furious, insanely done with Zionists. Where if I'm at, and I had a tweet thread about this while I was talking about this. Let me see if I can pull this up because it wasn't too long ago. Where I was like at KU, like almost hoping a motherfucker said something. And I'm like, bro, if someone did, it might be the end of our being, because I'm at the point right now where I'm so fucking pissed. If I'm at a protest and a Zionist comes up to me and does this shit that we've been seeing, I'm gonna fuck them up. And I don't know if I can control myself because of how angry I am covering this issue. And I acknowledge that probably just allow them to do whatever you want to us is probably the most technical, good for PR. But I'm gonna fuck it up because I'm gonna murder one of these motherfuckers one day, man. I am so fucking tired of this. But anyway, let me move on. Thank you for the 999. Beautiful stream, always inspired and hyped by you guys. Well said. Thank you for the 999, Dan. And we got quite a few more super chats came in. Let me read this and I'll get out of here. Thank you for the $5. I'm a Gen Xer and I couldn't care less about Russia or China fear mongering. Good base ARJ as always. I grew up once and got tired of the endless Trump Russiagate propaganda. Another one from Dan here. Appreciate all the super chats, guys. Zoya and Nick are phenomenal. These ideas and discussions are incredible as always. Gotta have you back here again, Suzo. You already know Nick and Zoya is a classic. Nick and Zoya is a hood certified classic. Last super chat I'm gonna read for tonight. Big Poor Unite. Thank you, Nick and Zoya. No, thank you guys. So Zoya, I'll pass it to you for last words to wrap up the stream. I'm tired, so I'll give you the last word and we can wrap up. I'll be back later this week. I still got a lot to cover. I cut like 2 segments tonight, so I'm gonna get to those here very soon. So Nick and I definitely on Thursday. I may have a bonus stream. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna definitely do a bonus stream sometime this week. I got a lot of stuff to cover. So Zoya, any last words? I'll pass to you, my friend.
So actually, I'm gonna take this opportunity to plug an RBN event that's coming up, and I'm literally sending you the graphic to Twitter now, just because it's buried in our massive DM archives. So RBN is and it's the Long Beach chapter is hosting the Palestinian Resistance Summit. It's going to be on June 1st and June 2nd. Whoop, whoop. And we are going to have fire guests. I don't remember everybody that's already confirmed, but I know Fiorella is going to come. Nico's going to come. We're working on people like Dan Cohen, Dave DeCamp is coming. I'm trying to get to the list. Dr. CBS, Jill Stein is checking her schedule to make an appearance. Nick Estes, and Danny Haifong, Hugh Anthony. So we got a lot of big names coming. Probably Carl Jha will come on, and many others. We invited like 30 more. So it's going to be a blockbuster event. Just so many powerful voices from all over the spectrum. We're going to have activists. We're going to have people from Gaza. We're going to have people from the student protests, academics, people who have been in this fight for decades. It's going to be really powerful. So I just wanted to plug that. I always don't want to leave you guys in a state of despair, because of course this is all tragic, and you wouldn't be a human being if you weren't mentally and emotionally impacted by this. I honestly hope that nobody's at a point where they can see these images and we've grown so desensitized that it doesn't elicit a reaction. This should make us upset. But remember never to get stuck in the pain of it all. You have to transmute that pain into action where we can actually support and make a difference and transform our communities. Nothing you do is too small. There are people who are just suffering from massive depression in this country that uses 80% of the world's opioid supply. So just reaching out to people, checking in on them, seeing how they are. Anything you can do. Mutual aid is really powerful. You can form a mutual aid with 3 people, with 5 people. It doesn't have to be massive. And you can no longer use, whatever anxiety you have as an excuse, because the way you overcome that is by doing it. And I had stage fright as a kid. I actually even one time lost my voice trying to give a public speech. In 5th grade or something. But what I did was I joined theater and put myself on stage all the time so I can overcome that. And it's really empowering. So there's this.
Yeah, I told you guys before, I grew up with a speech impediment. You guys hear it all the time when you guys make fun of me when I mispronounce stuff. I grew up with a speech impediment, my friends. It was a very debilitating, very humiliating growing up with it. I went from having a speech impediment, thus being terrified. I used to be a very shy, passive kid because of it. Guys, you have no idea how much it mentally impacted me, especially because kids are very brutal. That's why I learned how to fight too. I used to throw hands over this all the time. I went from having a speech impediment, being super shy around people, now giving public speeches like at KU. You know what I mean? It's very empowering. I love what you said, Zoe, but so continue.
Exactly, because we've been infantilized inside of America. You're not educated, you're robbed of the education, you're robbed of developing skills that people in other countries have, because there's more poverty and there's more emphasis on autonomy. So it's like this incapable mentality that capitalism really nurtures, because they want you to have to use the service industry, call a plumber, call an electrician, always outsource so that you're buying and buying. But really, you guys can look this stuff up yourself and do it yourself. I know how to fix plumbing. I know how to do electricity. That's because I was raised in the Soviet Union, where they empowered us. So all of you don't know your power yet. Don't get stuck in this infantile state that really just focuses on not growing as a person. Wherever you're at, you can be in a different place tomorrow. And you don't have to do it in any kind of way that doesn't nurture your soul or is abusive to yourself. On the contrary, encourage yourself. Go exercise. Go learn martial arts like Nick is talking about. Learn self-defense. Learn how to use a weapon. Learn how to organize. Whatever resonates with you the most, start taking risks and start expanding yourself as a human being, because this establishment wants nothing more than to convince you that you are powerless and that you can't do more, but you can. And you will discover that power through your communities and through solidarity, which for thousands of years of human existence, we had community. We had elders that were teaching us. That's why they love to take out elder leaders, so that they can't tell us the mistakes they made and allow us to learn from them. Go out there, take risks, improve your lives, improve the lives of the people around you. Society is an organism. There's nothing that's going to impact one of you that doesn't impact everybody. None of us are free until all of us are free. Live by it.
Decolonize your mind. Zoe is love. Zoe is life. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to end the stream on that. I'm not following that. So thank you guys for joining us. There'll be another Nick and Zoya soon. This was very fun. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back on Thursday. I'm definitely, once again, I'm not going to announce when, but I got a lot of stuff to cover. So I may do a bonus stream sometime this week, just because I got so much stuff to cover. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.